Today's lesson is Tall Peaks and Deep Lakes, the Splendor of Interlaken. Hi there, everyone. I'm Mike.
And I'm Sam.
And we are taking a trip to the Swiss Alps today and tomorrow in this two-day article looking at a lovely place in Switzerland, and a place I have to admit I know fairly well. I spent a summer in Interlaken many, many years ago.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
What did you do there?
I was working at a hotel.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
I went to some of the places we're going to be reading about, but I have to admit, not all of them. I was busy working, and so I explored a few different spots, but there are definitely other places that I never got to. Have you ever been to Switzerland?
I have been to Switzerland.
It's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we did a little tour.
It's all kind of similar.
We did. We went from Germany to Switzerland to Austria. We did all of those. So in my brain, they get a little bit mixed around. But
and
I
it's
do
mountains,
remember,
mountains.
Yes.
Yeah.
I do remember Lucerne, though, because we had to go up the side of a mountain in a giant tour bus, and it was kind of a little terrifying.
Oh, my gosh.
But
okay.
I would love to see more of Switzerland. It really was beautiful.
It really is. And a lot of people think of Switzerland, they often think of skiing and stuff like that. And sure, the winter months are great there. But you can also really enjoy the summer season as well. I think the prices might be a little bit lower. And if you're not the skiing type, well, the hiking can be great. And the sightseeing, of course, is great. You can do it a lot more safely. Going up some of these mountains in the winter could be dangerous, if not impossible. And in the summertime, you're right, they have bus tours. They have these special cable cars that can carry you up to the top of the mountain. And if you do like some hiking and things like that, if walking around in the mountains of central Taiwan is something you enjoy, well, imagine doing it in Switzerland. It's kind of a ridiculous country. I remember coming out of a train tunnel on my way to Interlaken from the airport in Zurich. And I came out and there was a little green field with some cows, and then there was a little village, and then there were some mountains behind. It looked like the cover of a box of chocolates. It was absolutely like, oh, come on. This is like a Hollywood scene, but it's real. So it's really definitely a place to go. Although we should mention, it's kind of expensive.
Oh, I'm sure.
You know, buying food and stuff can cost a little bit more than you might expect in other parts of the world, but that is part of the charm, possibly, and the food you do get is wonderful. So let's spend some time during the summer months in the beautiful small mountain town of Interlaken.
Tall peaks and deep lakes, the splendor of Interlaken. Located between Lake Thun and Lake Brienz, the Swiss town of Interlaken has a long history of drawing travelers seeking tranquility and natural beauty.
大家好，标题中介绍名词 splendor， 它的意思是壮丽辉煌。例如 We spent our morning basking in the splendor of the Niagara Falls. 我们整个早上都沉浸在尼加拉瓜瀑布的壮观景色中。或者 Karen loved the splendor of Paris when she visited the city last summer. Karen 去年夏天造访巴黎时，她很爱那座城市壮丽的景色。继续看到名词 tranquility， 表示平静、宁静祥和。例如 The tranquility of the beach has been ruined by noisy tourists. 那个海滩的宁静被嘈杂的游客破坏了。或是 The painting captured the tranquility of the ocean at sunrise. 那幅画捕捉到了日出时海洋的宁静之美。
Okay, here we are, checking out the first paragraph. It's a nice short one, just giving us a quick overview of what we're going to be looking at. It says, located between Lake Thun and Lake Brienz, the Swiss town of Interlaken has a long history of drawing travelers seeking tranquility and natural beauty. It sure does. I'm sure people have been holidaying there for centuries in this beautiful town between these two lakes, which makes sense because the name Interlaken, I think, means between the lakes. Interlaken. There you go. And it is a place of wonderful tranquility.
Yes, and we have this word tranquility. And if something is tranquil, it is peaceful, it is calm, it is a place that you might go that is just for relax and resting and escape the busy, noisy world and just get some very peaceful, tranquil time in natural beauty. And a lot of times when we hear this tranquil or tranquility, we use these words to talk about somewhere that you might be in nature, because that's usually where you feel as humans, where we feel most calm, is maybe sitting by a lake or sitting on a mountain or something like that, listening to the natural sounds and not really seeing a bunch of cars and people and things like that. So this place is a great place to go if you want to just get some peaceful, tranquil, calm rest and beauty.
Sounds wonderful. So let's find out a little bit more about the exact places we should go and what we would find there in the second part of the article.
A lakeside resort. Interlaken's early settlers included Christian monks who founded a monastery there around 1133, and for centuries, the small mountain town drew little attention. In the 1800s, however, it rapidly became a tourist hotspot, thanks in no small part to the work of painter Franz Nicholas Koenig, whose grand landscapes of the town attracted wealthy travelers from all over Europe. Today, Interlaken is considered the gateway to the Swiss Alps and a great place for adventure tourism.
第二部分看到名词 resort， 它的意思是旅游胜地、度假胜地。例如 My family visits the same ski resort every winter. 我们家每年冬天都会造访同一个滑雪度假村。也可以说 We stayed at a popular beach resort in Bali. 我们待在巴厘岛一个热门海边度假胜地。再来介绍片语 in no small part， 表示很大程度上、大部分的。我们可以说Productivity doubled this quarter, thanks in no small part to the efforts of our employees. 本季的产能倍增，很大原因是员工们的努力。又或者说 The company's success was due in no small part to its excellent CEO. 该公司的成功绝大部分归功于出色的执行长。后面看到 gateway 这个单字，它是名词，它的意思是门户、通道、出入口、途径。例如London's Heathrow Airport serves as a gateway to the rest of Europe. 伦敦的希斯罗机场是通往欧洲其他地区的一个门户。再看一个例子 Learning a new language can be a gateway to understanding different cultures around the world. 学习一门新语言可以成为了解世界各地不同文化的途径。
Okay, we are back. So the second part, which is kind of the main first part of our introduction to Interlaken here, it's called a lakeside resort. And yeah, you will actually find a lot of resorts in this part of the world. A resort is kind of an area that's for tourism. It's for action and adventure, possibly, if you want. Tranquility, if that's what you're looking for. But a place you won't find, big cities, big factories, a lot of people rushing around on highways and things like that. No, you'll find hotels. You'll find ski hills. You'll find beach resorts. You'll find places to rent or do certain fun activities for your fun and entertainment and stuff like that. So when people are looking for a place to go on holiday, they might look for a resort, which could be an all-inclusive place with hotels and restaurants and sports and other types of activities and pastimes that you can take part in. Or it can just be a certain area, if we're talking about like an area of the country where there are many mountains or many beaches or something like that. That could be a resort area. So this is a lakeside resort since we're up in the Swiss Alps.
Yes, and so we see it says Interlaken's early settlers included Christian monks who founded a monastery there around 1133, and for centuries the small mountain town drew little attention. So a long time ago there were settlers. So settlers are the people who would come to a place, a newer place, and settle the land, basically say this is where we're going to live, we're going to build houses and farms and things like that, and basically turn this patch of land that maybe there was nobody before, we're going to turn it into a little village or a little city. So the early settlers that came to Interlaken included Christian monks, and they came there and started a monastery. So they built a little church where all the monks would live, and this area didn't get a lot of attention for a long time because it's just this little quiet mountain town with a bunch of monks, and it's just quiet and not really a need for anybody to specifically go and visit this area.
There you go. In the 1800s, however, it rapidly became a tourist hotspot, thanks in no small part to the work of painter Franz Niklaus König, whose grand landscapes of the town attracted wealthy travelers from all over Europe. So the monks had a nice thing going there for like 650 years or so. They were left alone in this beautiful part of the world. It is up in the mountains, right? Even though it's in a lower area with these lakes around it, it isn't exactly near any of the big cities of Switzerland. But then in the 1800s, when people, were looking for places to go and explore, and people, I guess, had more time and money to do it, it rapidly or quickly became a tourist hotspot. It went from kind of an unknown place to a very popular place for holidays and other things, thanks in no small part to the work of this painter. Now, when we use that expression in no small part, we mean in kind of a big way, okay? So there were other reasons people were looking for places to go, but one of the main reasons, one of the big reasons was because of this painter's paintings, which kind of acted as advertising to it. So when we use this phrase in no small part, often we use it to give credit to something, to sort of maybe blame something or say this is a good thing that contributed to it. The project was a big success in no small part to Bob's hard work. So we're kind of saying Bob had a big part to do with the success in this. Or maybe the blame, the project was a failure in no small part because Bob never showed up and did his work or something. So by saying in no small part, you're kind of meaning in actually a fairly big or large way. All right, so in no small part to the work of this painter, Franz Niklaus König, whose grand landscapes of the town attracted people from all over Europe. He was painting pictures of Interlaken, the beautiful lakes with the mountains right behind them, little town. And so these landscapes, and a landscape is a type of art that in which the geographic features, in which land or geography or the world around you, that is the main focus of it, okay? So some people paint portraits, which are pictures of people. Some other artists would paint landscapes, so they'd paint beautiful scenes from nature. So these would kind of be like those postcards that you might buy that show the beauty of the place that you're visiting or something like that. So he was painting these grand, I guess they were actually physically very large paintings that he did, showing how beautiful this part of the world was, kind of acting as a tourism poster that we might see at a travel agent's today. And you look at it and you go, wow, I want to go there. Look how spectacular that part of the world is. And that's what people thought. These wealthy travelers, of course, in the 1800s, only rich people could take holidays. They had the means and the money and the time to do that. But wealthy travelers from all over Europe went there. And of course, a lot of people decided to build hotels and other things for them.
Yes, and so now it's actually a very popular place to go and visit. And it says, today, Interlaken is considered the gateway to the Swiss Alps and a great place for adventure tourism. So using this word gateway is saying that this is basically the kind of almost like the starting point to the Swiss Alps. Like you want to go visit the Swiss Alps, but maybe you're not so sure how to go there or where to go, or you're not like a super serious climber or a super serious skier. So you don't really know what exactly you're doing. So using this word gateway, saying gateway to the Swiss Alps, is kind of like the passageway or the entry point. Yeah, especially for, it could be physically, literally like the bottom of the Swiss Alps, like the actual entry point to the Swiss Alps. It also can be used as like a way that people who are not so super into mountain stuff could kind of get into mountain stuff on the Swiss Alps. So saying that it's like a gateway is kind of like an easy point for people to get into it if they're not super serious about mountain climbing and skiing and all that kind of stuff. And also it sounds like it has a lot of adventure tourism. So it's not just like walking around looking at beautiful things. There's plenty of more action style things to do.
Exactly right. Yeah, things like skiing and hiking and mountain climbing. And that's what we're going to learn about in the third and final part of our article. It's all about summer fun.
Summer fun. With average temperatures over 20 degrees, Interlaken is the perfect summer playground. Switzerland may be a landlocked country, but that doesn't mean water sports are off the menu. Guided canyoning trips offer the chance to splash through cool creeks, while canoeing across the calm lakes reveals impressive reflections of the mighty Jungfrau. Away from the water, a wealth of hiking trails awaits. There are options to suit every fitness level, but for something entirely unforgettable, consider the Panorama Ridge Trail starting at Schöniger Platte. Accessed via the historic Thunersee-Beatenberg funicular train, this 6-hour walk delivers breathtaking views of alpine meadows bursting with wildflowers.
第三部分介绍名词 creek 指小溪，通往海、湖等的小海湾、小港湾。举例来说 My boots got very wet when I had to hike across the creek. 当我不得不徒步穿过小溪时，我的靴子湿透了。又或者说 The children are cooling off in the creek beside their house. 孩子们在他们家旁边的小溪里消暑降温。接着看到名词 reflection 表示倒影、印象、反射、反应。例如 Amy looked at her reflection on the surface of the water. Amy 看着她在水面上的倒影。也可以说 The lake showed a bright reflection of the moon because it was a clear night. 湖面上映出月亮的明亮倒影，因为那是一个晴朗的夜晚。最后看到 breathtaking 这个单字，它是形容词，表示美得惊人的，令人叹为观止的。我们可以说 The view from the mountaintop was breathtaking. 从山顶眺望的景色令人叹为观止。最后一个例子 The dancers gave a breathtaking performance at the theater. 舞者们在剧院里带来了令人赞叹的表演。
Okay, so let's get into the summer fun. Let's get into some of the adventure tourism you can enjoy. Of course, if you just want to sit by a lake and eat some Swiss cheese and chocolate and relax, you can do that. But if you feel a little more active, oh boy, do they have stuff for you. What does it say? It says, with average temperatures over 20 degrees, Interlaken is the perfect summer playground. It says Switzerland may be a landlocked country, but that doesn't mean water sports are off the menu. That's kind of interesting, too. Switzerland is, if you look at a map, surrounded by land. It has no coastline. There's no big port in Switzerland where boats come. You can't access the Atlantic or the Mediterranean or anywhere. Something is landlocked. It's surrounded by land. It doesn't have water on any border of the country. If we think of landlocked countries, something in Central Africa might come to mind. I think the country of Paraguay in South America, if you look at it, that is a landlocked country. It is not on the Atlantic or Pacific Oceans. But it doesn't mean in Interlaken that water sports are off the menu. If something is off the menu, it's not available. This sort of comes from restaurants where certain foods might be only available seasonally. So if you're like, oh, I really want pumpkin pie, and they're like, oh, we only have that in the fall and winter. In the summer, it's off the menu. It's not available. So what kind of water sports can we get into?
Well, it says guided canyoning trips offer the chance to splash through cool creeks, while canoeing across the calm lakes reveals impressive reflections of the mighty Jungfrau. So this already, there's way more stuff to do in the water than I was expecting at the bottom of the mountain. But then again, it is surrounded by lakes, so I guess it makes sense. But it says that there are canyoning trips. So this idea of a canyoning trip, so a canyon is where maybe an old river, like millions of years ago, kind of carved out the earth a little bit. And so you've got this canyon. And usually at the bottom of a canyon is still a little bit of some type of waterway, like a small river, or in this case a creek. So you can go exploring the canyons, you can splash in the cool creeks, you can go play in the little rivers or little creeks, and this is basically a very, very tiny river where the water is not flowing very fast. It's probably not very wide. It's just like something that you can kind of play in a little bit. Might be a good place if you had kids to go and play and see what little fish and things are around there. But you also can go canoeing on the lakes. So a canoe is that kind of wooden boat. Usually it's wood. I guess they're not
kind
wood
of
anymore.
fiberglass today,
probably, not anymore. But they used to be kind of like the big wooden boats. They're kind of shaped like a...
Long and narrow?
Yeah, and they're usually a little bit pointed on the sides, and they kind of curve up. And you usually paddle with an oar. And you might have one-person canoe or a double canoe, and they're kind of tippy.
You can fall out into the water fairly easily.
Very easy. So that would be something that you might want to do if you're kind of confident in your canoeing ability.
Or don't mind getting wet.
True.
Yeah.
But if you are canoeing on the lakes, you'll see a very impressive reflection. So a reflection is just basically the light bouncing off of something and then bouncing off the water so that you can see in the water that thing reflected, almost like if you're looking in a mirror. If the water is very still, then you'll be able to look in the water and see the reflection of things around. And in this case, it's the mighty Jungfrau, which is one of the mountains around in this area that you can kind of see reflected down in these pretty lakes.
There you
so
go.
Very pretty scenery being set here.
Absolutely beautiful, and you can see why this inspired the artist with all those landscapes, too. Away from the water, a wealth of hiking trails await. So yeah, away from the water, if you head up the mountainside a little bit, you'll find lots of places to go hiking. This is a little different. This isn't mountain climbing, which often involves ropes and helmets and greater safety and more of a challenge. Hiking is basically just walking across the land as it rises and falls, often in a hilly or mountain area, but not really trying to climb up a rope or something like that. So just a good pair of boots or shoes is what you need. There are options to suit every fitness level, but for something, I should say, entirely unforgettable, consider the Panorama Ridge Trail starting at Schinnige Platte. How do you get there? It says accessed via this historic Thunersee Beatenberg funicular train. This 6-hour walk delivers breathtaking views of alpine meadows bursting with wild flowers. So you'll get a little bit of help going up to the beginning of the trail. There's a funicular train which goes between Thunersee and Beatenberg. A funicular is a special train that climbs the sides of mountains. If you've ever been to Hong Kong and taken that cool little old train that kind of goes up to Victoria Peak, that's a funicular. It runs on tracks, so it's not sort of something that hangs on a cable in the air. It runs on tracks, but it has kind of a cog and gear system that helps it climb very, very steep slopes. So that will definitely save your leg muscles a little bit, because the hike is pretty long if you do the whole thing. A 6-hour walk, so it should take you about 6 hours from beginning to end, but you will have breathtaking views of alpine meadows. I would expect to, because we're in the mountains. If something is breathtaking, it takes your breath away, not literally, but it makes you go, wow, that's so beautiful. So that's the breathtaking. It's sort of so amazing, so wonderful, so spectacular. It'll make you pause and stop. Maybe even your breathing will stop as your mind is filled with beauty and wonder and awe of where you are. So amazing views of alpine. Anything to do with mountains is alpine. Yeah, we get the word from the Alps, those mountains there, but you can do alpine sports in Japan, up in Hokkaido. So anything to do with mountains is alpine. Alpine weather, alpine sports, alpine resorts or something, always found in the mountain. Here we have alpine meadows, and they are bursting with wild flowers. I guess in the summer months, nature has to do its growing there because the snow will arrive soon. So it'll be kind of spring and summer all at one time. If you're up there in Interlaken in the mountains and the Alps of the area, it will be spectacular. Another thing, the air is just so clean.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing. All right, guys, that's all the time we have for today. We'll be back in Interlaken tomorrow and the surrounding area, but now it's time to go over to Hanny, our Chinese teacher.
各位同学大家好，我是 Hanny。 我们来看今天的文法重点。课文第二部分提到 Interlaken 在19世纪迅速成为热门旅游胜地，这在很大程度上要归功于画家弗朗兹·尼可劳斯·寇尼西的作品。那文中是在这一位画家的名字后方接逗号whose grand landscapes of the town attracted wealthy travelers from all over Europe. 来补充说明，他所绘制这个城镇壮丽的风景画，吸引了来自欧洲各地的富裕旅客。那我们这边要学习 whose 引导关系子句的非限定用法。whose 当所有格关系代名词，后面是要接名词，用来表达先行词的什么什么。当它的先行词是特定明确对象时，就不用限定范围咯，所以我们要用到非限定用法。whose 引导的关系子句功能是在补充说明这个先行词，那这时候要用 用逗号把它跟主要子句隔开。举例来说，Chris is about to marry his girlfriend, whose parents are both professors. Chris 即将和他的女友结婚，对方的父母都是教授。那句子里面先行词是 his girlfriend， 后面用关系子句 whose parents are both professors 来补充说明他女友的父母都是教授。那这时候我们用逗号把这个补充说明的关系子句隔开来。另外，当先行词它是非特定不明确的对象时，则会用到限定用法。whose 引导的关系子句功能是要限定先行词的范围，让它变明确嘛。那么 whose 前方就不加逗号了。例如 The man whose car was stolen was furious. 那名车子被偷的男子非常愤怒。好，我们先看到先行词 the man 它是不明确的对象，我们不知道是哪一名男子。那在 the man 后面紧接着关系子句 whose car was stolen 来限定它的范围，表达是那名车子被偷的男子。那这是属于限定用法， whose 的前面就不加逗号了。再看到课文第3部分提到因特拉肯有大量的健行步道，文中是用 a wealth of hiking trails 来表达大量的健行步道。那名词 wealth 在这边是表达丰富大量，我们可以用 a wealth of 加上复数可数名词或是加上不可数名词去表达丰富的什么大量的什么，像 a wealth of experience丰富的经验， a wealth of options 许多的选择。我们顺便补充2种用法，一个是 an array of 后面也可以接复数可数名词或是不可数名词去表达大量的什么大批的什么。这个名词 array 它表示一大批一大群，那我们就可以用像是 an array of colors 来表达许多不同的颜色。第二个补充的是 a host of 也可以表达许多大量的什么，之后可以接人或事物，像 a host of possibilities许多可能性， a host of painters 就是一群画家。好，那么以上就是今天重点整理，我们回顾今天单字吧。
Splendor. The majestic splendor of the mountain view left everyone speechless. Tranquility. After a busy week, Sam enjoys the tranquility of a quiet day in the countryside. Resort. We stayed at a luxury resort by the beach during our vacation in Hawaii. Settler. This town was founded by European settlers in the late 18th century. Gateway.
This small village serves as the gateway to the national park.
Creek. If you follow this creek through the forest, it will lead you to a small waterfall. Reflection. When Ava saw her reflection in the mirror, she brushed some hair back behind her ears. Breathtaking. When the dancer's breathtaking performance ended, everyone stood up and cheered.
Well, that brings us to the end of another edition of our program, and please make sure you join us again next time. From all of us here, I am Mike.
I am Sam.
See you next time.